Namaskar. It is only a month before separate entrance tests were to be conducted for government and private medical colleges, as has been the practice since 2013. But this year it has been put on hold, and the common entrance examination, the National Eligibility Entrance Test, will be back. And this has put lakhs of students in confusion, actually. But the decision of the Constitution Bench of Justices A.R. Dave, A.K. Sikri, R.K. Agarwal, A.R. Goel and R. Banumurthy, who recalled the judgment of July 18, 2013, which had quashed N.E.E.T, has been well received. The 2013 majority verdict delivered by the then Chief Justice Altmas Kabir had apparently not considered an earlier Supreme Court judgment, nor had Justice Kabir consulted other members of the bench in the majority verdict. Justice Dave, who was a part of that bench, had dissented, saying that he was not consulted, possibly because of the paucity of time, as Justice Kabir had delivered that verdict a day before his retirement. Now, yesterday's recall could help weed out malpractices in admissions, capitation fees, discretionary criteria of private colleges, which would circumvent merit-based selection for MBBS, BDS and postgraduate seats. Now, the Medical Council of India has to conduct the N.E.E.T at a short notice, as other entrance tests are not valid as a consequence. That will be done by the CBSE, actually. And while lawyers of private colleges pleaded with the Supreme Court to clarify the consequences, the bench in fact replied, the natural consequence is that the N.E.E.T comes into force. So to discuss how the Supreme Court has restored the N.E.E.T, we have with us in the studio Dr. Narendra Saini is the chairman of the Delhi Medical Council and ex-Secretary General of the Indian Medical Association. We have Satya Prakash, who is the legal editor of the Hindustan Times, and Aruneshwar Gupta is a senior advocate of the Supreme Court. We'll start with you, Mr. Satya Prakash. How do you understand that the MCI would have to conduct this examination at a short notice? Because some reports seem to suggest that are in the media that they don't have the facility to conduct it at such a short notice. Well, what would this mean? What would this mean?
The judgment, I welcome the verdict, because yes, when the verdict came, there was a lot of controversy, not just what has been put on record by Justice Dave and this 5-judge Constitution bench, that there was not much discussion, or rather no discussion. More importantly, it was the controversy regarding the judgment being leaked in advance. In 2013, yes, it was leaked in advance, and one of the advocates, he pointed out to the court that this judgment is available in advance, and he wrote a piece which appeared in one of the websites, that this judgment is available in advance and this is how the judgment is. So there was huge controversy, and Justice Kabir was asked about it. He said, what can I do? This is also about restoring people's faith in the system. It gave an impression that there was some hanky-panky, may not be correct, but it gave that impression. This judgment restores people's faith in the system. So that. Second is whether MCI can conduct this kind of test in a short time span or not. You remember there was a verdict regarding All India Pre-Medical Test also, MPT. That also the MCI, the CBSE had to conduct. Here also CBSE will be conducting. It can be done, but whether MCI has that, they take a decision or not. Yesterday we talked to MCI people. Most of them, they were not clear about it, what the verdict is. Now that the verdict is available, they would read it and they will take a decision. Conducting the test, maybe extending it by 15 days or a month.
Right.
It is for them to take a decision, but so far as this judgment is concerned.
So what is your understanding then of the other people who have actually gone for exams now, who have the hall tickets to sit for the private examinations that are would have been conducted if not for this verdict?
I am sure that all those examinations, they are completely null and void. They are illegal now. So whosoever will be appearing for that would be wasting time, energy and money. Now it is for the MCI to conduct the test. Why? Because rest of the private tests conducted by private colleges, by implication, they have been declared illegal.
Dr. Saini, how would you view this? Because there is, some reports suggest about 90 examinations being conducted for about 50,000 seats across the country, and One exam would obviously be better. That's what everyone has been asking for. But since the process is already in place, and perhaps MCI has expressed doubts whether they can conduct it at a short notice, what do you foresee for the near future? How would the MCI be conducting itself?
I think first is how you see as this verdict. I see that this verdict as a medical personnel is a good verdict.
Okay.
Is good for a common person, is a good for the student, I will say.
Right.
Otherwise, what was happening was, even in our time also, we have to sit for a number of exams. When there are number of exams, it means number of forms to be filled up.
Right.
Then is the examination money has to be given. Then you have to travel for such a different places. And another one is, this is a clash of examination dates. Many times it happens there's a clashing of dates. And fourthly, when you have multiple exams, you will always find the corruptions coming up.
Okay.
And the quality, I think, is the most important criterion in medical field. I see two professions where the quality has not to be compromised. One is aviation, where a single fault and you can take so many lives. Similarly, a medical field is such where also a life of many people at stake. So we want a quality man to be into this system, and I feel this kind of a judgment will really help in. And regarding the MCI,
whether they can conduct the exam, yes, that's what's
whether
important.
They will be able to conduct. I foresee that at present, if I can recall, none of the exams has happened yet. The examination date will be in the near future.
Okay.
In the next month, there will be number of exams.
I think Aligarh Muslim University has conducted the exam.
One or two, but I think that can be taken care of. And as rightly said by my friend also, that CBSE last time also conducted another one exam when the court said the.
So you believe that the system has the capacity to conduct a fresh examination right now, and that would happen.
That should happen.
Okay, let's bring in Mr. Gupta here. The court is going to hear the case afresh. I mean, in this judgment, they haven't really passed, any observations as to why or why they were making that judgment. Right. They're going to hear it fresh without any prejudice. How long will this process take? Because it's a 5-judge constitution bench. It's going to. I mean, will it affect the, let's say, the selection process for next year? Would you think it would take about a year to hear?
You see, it depends, because this issue is certainly a very, very important issue. And it affects a large number, like 50,000 students. And if you actually see, it is the
and about 600
colleges which needs to be solved. Right. It's not a simple issue. And a constitutional bench can always sit down. You see, last year, if you recollect, the NJC judgment that sat down through the vacations. So if the court is really bent upon it, it is not, and it is, the process of court is time consuming. There's no doubt about it. Because there are a large number of senior advocates, there are conflicting issues. There are a large number of judgments, because this medical college examinations issue has been started right from 1951.
Right.
The first judgment which really was Champakam Duraijan's judgment in 1951, which was relating to admissions in medical colleges. And then the last two judgments which the court think that they have not considered is Preeti Srivastava judgments and Veterinary Council's judgment.
Okay.
And then the conflict really comes with the TMA Pai judgment, where there's the 11 judges bench, which says
that number of judgments were not taken into consideration by the
TMA Pai judgment was followed, where it said that in private institutions the government will have not much to say. Now, in that point of view, there will be a lot of judgments, there are a lot of seniors. It is a time-consuming process, but the court should resolve the problems in the interest of the students, because it's a really serious issue.
Right. Dr. Saini, let's bring you into this. Those hailing the verdict have said that this is going to do away with capitation fees, this discretionary quota which is being misused. Were mentioning by the time you did your exams and all that, but to what extent do you feel this has been misused by the system? Can you just give us an idea about how it has been misused?
If you see, there are a number of exams happening. Why there is every private medical college is holding their own exam? Why they not being clubbed into the same system which is there, All India Medical, which is for the government seats? So if this is happening separately, there seems to be something which is happening. I don't have the evidence for that, but there are cases where the capitation fee or some money has been taken, has been put into it, and people have got admission. So this verdict, I think, is a good verdict, because, as I said again, I will repeat again, if there is one exam, the chances of corruption becomes nil.
All right. If they won exam, the chance of corruption become nil. Satya Prakash, in the 2013 judgment, Justice Kabir had said that the MCI Act did not empower it to conduct examinations. And that is going to be changed now to some extent. And, and also, I mean, the exam was actually being conducted by the CBSE. It's not being conducted by the MCI. And that came in from an earlier judgment, I think, of 2010, where they decided that the MCI and the CBSE can be on the same page. Could you elaborate a little bit on this?
What Justice Kabir's verdict said, technically speaking, that is right, that MCI, but this is also correct, that MCI does not conduct the examination. The examinations are actually conducted by CBSE. So that verdict, whatever it said, and whether it's right or wrong, it has been referred to a larger bench, and now it will be heard and decided. But for this year, because the Supreme Court has brought back this N.E.E.T, MCI will have to step in, and CBSE and MCI will together conduct the exam.
Another point that was noted by the majority verdict was that N.E.E.T violated 19(1) of the Constitution, apparently also Article 30 of the Constitution, which guarantees minority institutions their rights. To what extent can this be argued even afresh, Mr. Gupta?
You see, again, the issue related to minority rights have been going on in the Supreme Court from St. Xavier's case and Stephen's case. But here the real issue is the management of the institutions by the minorities, people who are in the managing body. But that does not mean, and would not go to the extent that you are only dealing with minorities, because if you see the whole issue of AIPMT, which came up way back in 2006, which was by Arjun Singh, as he then was basically to introduce reservations in medical examinations. That was the real issue. So that is what we are really dealing with, minorities.
Sure.
So these issues will going to come, but the real issue is that again the MCI is an expert body to control and prescribe minimum standards of medical education. Now when you are trying to control and prescribe, whether you can also implement them, then so the power to implement incidentally is within the power of control. To give you an illustration, like BCCI, they have the power to control the entire cricket system. So they regulate and they appoint the team for cricket. Similarly, for admission, and if you see, there are three different stages. One is the private institution holding examinations. The state governments are holding examination. And one of the basic reaction is coming from the state governments who have been holding. Well, originally, when the medical colleges were started, they were run by the state governments. And now we have got large number of private institutions coming up. But then the whole issue is that if the central government, like the Medical Council, if they undertake the examination process, it will be extremely beneficial for the student, and as my learned friend said, that basically multiplicity of dates, travelling time, and this is what Justice Dave said in the minority judgment, that these are serious issues. Ultimately, from whom the bell tolls is the students. So
I'll come back to you. We need to take a short commercial break at this point in time. Do stay with us. You're watching Late Edition. We are discussing the Supreme Court restoring the N.E.E.T. Do stay with us.
मुबारक हो सेठ जी, आखिर चौधराइन आई गई कर्जा मांगने।
आओ आओ चौधराइन।
राम राम सेठ जी।
सुना है बिटिया की शादी तय हो गई है?
हाँ सेठ जी, बहुत अच्छा घराना है।
कुछ रुपए पैसों की मदद हो तो?
नहीं सेठ जी, मैंने इसके लिए ग्रामीण डाक जीवन बीमा पहले से ही करा रखा है। फिर भी जरूरत हुई तो दूसरी पॉलिसी पे लोन ले लूंगी। मैं तो बस ये न्योता देने आई हूँ।
ग्रामीण डाक जीवन बीमा, ताकि आपकी शान हमेशा बनी रहे।
सूखा हो या बेमौसम की बरखा हो, कीड़ा लगे खेत में या दुविधा हो, बहुत ही कम प्रीमियम पे पूरी हो भरपाई, फसल बीमित रहे
कटाई के बाद भी भाई।
हाँ, ऋणी या अऋणी अब हर किसान लाभ उठाए। एक मौसम कदर है, सब किसान बीमा कराए। प्रधानमंत्री फसल बीमा योजना से हर किसान मुस्काए।
कृषि और किसान कल्याण मंत्रालय द्वारा किसान हित में जारी।
क्या बात है राशिद, फर्स्ट डिवीजन में पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन करने के बाद भी तुम उदास हो?
लेकिन सर वो
सोच रहे होगे कि खर्चा कहाँ से आएगा? हाँ, चिंता मत करो। अब जिंदगी की दौड़ में तुम जैसे स्टूडेंट्स को पीछे मुड़कर देखने की कोई जरूरत नहीं होगी, क्योंकि अब तुम्हारे साथ है मौलाना आजाद नेशनल फेलोशिप।
फेलोशिप हमारे लिए सर?
हाँ, तुम्हारे लिए और अल्पसंख्यक समुदाय के उन स्टूडेंट्स के लिए जिनकी सालाना पारिवारिक आय 2.5 लाख रुपए से कम है और जिन्होंने किसी भी सरकारी विश्वविद्यालय से जूनियर रिसर्च फेलोशिप या एमफिल के लिए आवेदन दिया है।
अधिक जानकारी के लिए लॉग इन करें www.minorityaffaires.gov.in पर या कॉल करें टोल फ्री नंबर 1800112001 पर। सबका साथ, सबका विकास।
प्रधानमंत्री ग्राम सड़क योजना ने हम गांव वालों के लिए तरक्की के रास्ते खोल दिए।
सड़क के गड्ढों की फोटो खींच रहे हो? कोई खास बात है क्या?
अरे काका, मेरे मोबाइल फोन में मेरी सड़क ऐप है, जिससे प्रधानमंत्री ग्राम सड़क से जुड़ी कोई भी जानकारी सरकार तक भेजी जा सकती है। सड़क से जुड़े सुझाव या शिकायत पर सरकार वाजिब कार्यवाही करती है।
प्रधानमंत्री ग्राम सड़क से जुड़ी कोई भी बात, मेरी सड़क एंड्रॉइड ऐप अब हर पल मेरे साथ।
Welcome back. We are discussing the Supreme Court restoring the N.E.E.T, which is an examination for selection to medical colleges. And we have with us in the studio Dr. Narendra Saini, is Chairman, Delhi Medical Council and former Secretary General of the Indian Medical Association. Aruneshwar Gupta is the Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court, and Satya Prakash is the Legal Editor of the Hindustan Times. We'll turn to you, Dr. Saini. You know, some of the states were against this. Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh were against the N.E.E.T because their state boards, they said, well, you know, if a student has to do an exam for 12 years, coming up from the rural segments of society also, doing the state board, suddenly you ask him to do a central board examination, it's not a level playing field. How would you answer that?
It is, I will say it is a level playing field in the sense that this examination, if it is a common entrance exam, it is for two purposes. One is for the national quota, second is for your state quota. Like I give you an example, Delhi is already doing so.
Okay.
In the same exam, you have a Delhi quota also. If you are a visa of Delhi, so you are eligible for a Delhi quota. If there are certain seats for Delhi students only, so they will take out the Delhi quota from that, and you have a national quota where you compete with all the people who have entered in the exam.
Okay.
Similarly, in Tamil Nadu or whichever state we are talking about,
right,
they can have their quota. So you are competing for your state quota within your own people only.
Okay.
So there is nothing confusion. And secondly,
no, are you competing within your own people in your own language? Because the language of the N.E.E.T is English and Hindi.
No, you can have, that's what can be done. You can have, this examination can be had in local language as well. What is the harm when we can have in Hindi? Why cannot it be in their local language? So it can happen in the local language also. So you are competing within the same. One important thing which student will realize that they will have a common syllabus. Many of the exams you see, competitive exams, some put it English as one of the subject, some other put it as a psychology as one of the subject, some
Right.
other put it as IQ as one of the subject. So at least with this common entrance exam, student will have at least one common syllabus which they will be competing for, and at a national level they are competing now also for a national level, but they will have an advantage for competing within their own system itself and giving only one exam.
Mr. Satya Prakash, under the 42nd Amendment, education was transferred from the state list to the concurrent list. And I mean, some would argue now that with an examination like this, which is conducted by a central board, you're taking away the state's power to do medical education to some extent.
Well, if it is in concurrent list, and if there is a law enacted by the center, and if there is a conflict between the central law and the state law, the central law shall prevail. So there is no doubt about it. To the extent of conflict, the central law shall prevail. But regarding this is not about center or state, as a learned friend has clarified. This is about having an exam and selecting the best.
That's right.
Best, and for a profession which saves thousands and lakhs of lives.
Right.
So this is crucial one, and why it is important, because not just you are selecting the best, you are also offering one test for everybody. Third, it is, you are saving money, you are saving time, you are saving so many things, and so much administrative machinery is involved in conducting exams across India during this season. It becomes so chaotic for parents, for students. There sometimes the dates are clashing, so you are supposed to travel to Chennai, then you are on the same day you are expected to be in Bangalore, so it becomes difficult.
Sure.
One particular point which you raised about minority institutions,
Yes.
their right to establish and administer their educational institutions under Article 30. That does not would not mean that you can give admission to anybody and everybody. There has to be regulation, and MCI has that power to regulate the medical education. That power cannot be taken away. The power that the minority institutions, they have the right, that is to establish and administer the institution.
Okay.
Nobody is going to interfere with that. The only part the MCI is doing is regulating the medical education. That part still remains with MCI, and to that extent they will prescribe the minimum criteria for admission or otherwise.
I think this is mainly focusing on admission processes, this judgment. It is not interfering at all.
Since you raised it, it's about the admission process. Now, if we have only one exam, if you had 90 exams, okay, a student who's doing 50 of them, at least he may get into one of them. Now, if he's doing one, I mean, the chances are, you know, there are lakhs of students doing this one examination, my chances come down. You know, if I have one bad day in the office, I'm not going to be able to get selected. It can happen like that. I mean, could you look at it as an opportunity for people to have at least have more than one chance to get into an institution?
I will now I will give you an answer on the basis of as a medical personnel.
Okay.
Any drug you take, it has a side effect.
Okay.
But still you take that drug because the positive effects are much more than what a negative effect is.
Okay.
So similarly, I take this as that the positive effects of this will be so much good for the student that even if 1 or 2 negative points are there, I will not take into consideration.
Mr. Gupta, you'll have all been speaking about the merits of the single examination system. Now, Justice Dave had mentioned that it would not be influenced in his dissenting judgment. It would not be influenced by irrelevant factors like caste, creed, community, race, lineage, gender, social, economy, standing, rural, urban, influence of wealth or power. Admission will only be given to those who deserve it and deserve to be doctors, yes, by merit. Of course, we all understand the importance of the merit criteria. But given the system that our society is, where reservation is part, is this something that is going, you know, beyond it?
No, if you see, even in these examinations, there is a reservation. There is a reservation for SC, there is a reservation for ST students, for the OBCs. So there is a reservation. So within the competing system, there is a reservation. But with a single exam, it is always better that because then you don't cut across, because in a particular state, like, because as I said, the states are conducting their exams. The schools, colleges are themselves conducting their own exams. In those cases, there is always an opportunity or a higher opportunity to deal with these issues, which Justice Dave has pointed out. But once you are creating a central examination pool, even if it is a single day, which is a bad day, a meritorious may be slightly less meritorious. But that doesn't mean that doesn't get into it. So he is always an opportunity, better opportunity. And he's done with one day.
Okay. Should this be the system for selection as common test for other professional courses as well?
Well, for law, CLAT is there for national law universities. But I suppose Delhi is not part of that. Delhi's National Law University is not part of that. But CLAT is there for most of the national law universities. And similarly, some other engineering also, there are separate tests. This should be the model. Why? Because it saves so much.
The best.
Yeah. Okay. One, it ensures the best. They join this various educational institution. Second, it also saves you time, money, and much of corruption is weeded out, because there have been allegations about medical admissions. There are institutes which take money and give you admission because they are the ones who are conducting tests. Nobody is there to regulate. So there is there are allegations of hanky-panking and ineligible candidates making to medical colleges.
Dr. Saini, this is not something new that Medical Council has been talking about a common entrance test for a long time. I mean, Supreme Court has also viewed this, I think, in the 2010 judgment when they were trying to bring CBSE and MCI together to conduct this examination. Government has, the current government has MCI in its last meeting in October had decided this once again. The the health ministry has also moved a note for it. So I mean, this has been the viewpoint in general for a long time. It should be, if you look at it, I mean, everyone seems to be on one side, isn't it?
I think, really, it was very disappointing when the judgment came.
Okay.
In 2013, everybody was on one point, but the judgment came in another one. So that was disappointing. But as rightly pointed, one more point I would like to add.
Sure.
For the student also, when you give so many exams, there is a psychological pressure also.
Okay.
There is an anxiety element. There are so many behavioral changes which come into a student when he has to pass through so many exams.
Okay.
So I think this will really take care of all these things.
So one final word from you, Mr. Gupta.
Yeah,
do you foresee, I mean, well, the petition has been put up by MCI, but from this private institutions, they have been arguing a strong case.
Yeah,
would you foresee, you know, I mean, the case taking some time?
I see a very serious issue because basically there is a TMA PICE judgment, which is an 11 judges judgment.
Okay.
And that makes very clear, you know, if there are colleges which are run by the government,
okay,
and there are unaided private colleges, which have nothing to do with the government at all.
Right.
Now, if there is absolutely a college which is not has to anything to do with the government, whether the government can at all interfere in the process of admission for those colleges. Now, this is going to be a very serious issue. Ultimately, you have 11 judges judgment, and even if you have 5 judges constituting bench, they will have to see how they get out of the TMA PICE judgment, and that is what the 2013 judgment says.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there.
Last word has not been said as yet on this.
The last word has not been said, yes.
It is yet to be decided.
It's in court. It has to be decided by this 5-judge bench. We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us on Late Edition.
Thank you.
Well, the Central Board of Secondary Education conducts the N.E.E.T for students who wish to pursue any graduate medical course, that's MBBS, dental course, or BDS, or postgraduate course, that's an MD or an MS, in government or private medical colleges in India. And the entrance exam is usually an objective type questions examination, and the subjects are physics, chemistry and biology. Well, the duration of the exam is usually 3 hours. We leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. Namaskar.